What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 159 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, and I'm joined as always by, I got to edit this one for YouTube a little bit, the Ninth Wonder, Chocolate Thunder, living in sin and pushing that duty in, the vagina juice sipping, just the tipping, passing out his stick like bullets from John Wick, the phenomenal A.J. Singh.
Hello, everybody. Good to be here.
AJ, what's been going on this week? Anything good?
I've been just chilling, man. Just watching Ahsoka. I've been dying to watch the newer episodes, like hoping that they would just wanting them to all be released at once.
But then what would we talk about?
I know, but I actually like this show now. Like, I didn't think I would, but I actually like it now. Dude,
I am curious, to see what you think of because if you like this one, I gotta imagine that you'll like The Mandalorian and some of the others as well. So okay. I'm definitely curious once you get into it to see what you think of the others. You've been watching any YouTube or anything?
Yeah, I've just been watching the same old movie review channels, Nick DeRamio and stuff like that. They cover all kinds of YouTube drama too.
You would know this better than me. When we get internet famous, what YouTube channel should we start a beef with?
I mean, if you want all the attention, it's got to be Penguin Zero, right? It's got to be Charlie, because he's got 10 million followers.
Oh, I've never even heard of this guy, Penguin Zero.
Well, yeah, but he's moist critical.
Oh, okay. Oh, I've heard you say them. I've never checked out the.
He's he used to be a Twitch streamer. He's quit Twitch recently, but I think he's on YouTube now. But...
Is he more of a video game guy, or?
Yeah, he's a video game guy. He also does just social commentary, just stuff like that. Just checking out what's going on lately.
Maybe we should. We've never really done a. I mean, I guess we've talked about politics a little, but we've never been oh, what do you think of Trump's mugshot and stories of the week and things like that.
Yeah, that's true.
By the way, what do you think of Trump's mugshot?
I mean, at least they let him dress up for it.
I did think it was funny that how instantly they're like we need to use this on merchandising, so look tough. It's a little funny. What else have I been I didn't watch a ton this week besides the newest Ahsoka. I did. Now, AJ, I like my murder mysteries like an old woman. Right. Mm-hmm. So on Amazon Prime, they got a couple of these Agatha Christie miniseries that are only 3-episode miniseries.
Okay.
I watched one a couple years ago called The ABC Murders, which was pretty good, and now I found another one called Ordeal by Innocence that I watched. Pretty good. I don't have stars. I don't know if you know who Bill Nighy is. He's the old guy. He's I don't know if you've ever seen Shaun of the Dead. He's the guy that plays the stepdad or whatever. Okay. He's a character actor. He's been on a ton of stuff. That also had Alice Eve and Matthew Good. I don't know if you know either of them, but they've been in various things throughout the years. But yeah, if you're looking for a nice little British murder mystery, I recommend it. And then video game wise, I don't know if I'll finish this game, but you know how when you subscribe to PlayStation Plus, each month they give you a couple free games.
Yeah.
So this fall, Alan Wake 2 is coming out. Mm-hmm. So they released Alan Wake 1 as a free game to hopefully get people playing that, and then hope that those people then play the second one. So I'm playing through that, but I don't know. I find it to be a frustrating game in spots. I gotta admit, I almost rage quit it already a couple of times. Okay. Well, it's just, I don't know. The thing I hate is they have this thing where you get to certain checkpoints, but if you maybe use too many of your bullets getting to that checkpoint, you're just going to start there with whatever you have, and then you might get caught in a situation where it's very, very difficult because you're stuck there with 3 bullets, and you got to run from all these enemies and try to. So I had one of those where I died a lot trying to desperately get to the next section. I finally made it, but it was a pain. Jeez. So I'll continue ahead and see if I can get through it, but I'm not loving it. I got to cut it some slack though, because The game actually has a weird history because it was originally like an Xbox exclusive.
Okay.
In like, I want to say it came out on like the Xbox 360.
Mm-hmm.
But then like Remedy, the company that designed the game, like Microsoft eventually like sold it back to them because I don't know, they didn't see much profit in it or whatever. And so that's why they were able to now publish this one on PlayStation. And they did like a kind of like a somewhat of a remaster of it, and that's what's here. But it still plays kind of clunky like a game of that era. You know, some of the controls are clunky, the camera's a little clunky at times.
Yeah.
So, you know, you run into things like that, which really, you know, it's funny that now PS3 games, era games, I mean, seem in some respects a little clunky, you know, when at the time, you know, it seemed like, oh man, these are, you know, everything feels cutting edge at the time, you know. And then some time goes by and you're like, oh, this feels weird now.
I don't know. Like, I remember, like, in the 80s, I remember looking at technology and being like, man, this shit sucks. Like, I was like, we got a good 20 years before this shit's good.
You're like, I can see the future and it will be better than this.
Yeah. This is not it. Yeah, this plastic tech is not going to do it for us.
It's amazing, though, also when video games try to get you to change your habits and, like, you're against it at first, but then you do it, and then like eventually like it feels weird going the other way. Like the biggest thing for me is like, you know, before they had the analog sticks on controllers, like if you're playing like a racing game like GTA or whatever, you know, you're using the directional buttons to steer, and also you're using X for gas rather than like the trigger, you know. And then I think it was like GTA 4, like that's when they implemented the change where like gas is like the trigger and, you know, movement with the stick. And like I couldn't get used to it, so I actually changed back to the old school, like, you know, control scheme. And then eventually, like, every game with driving in it, like, did it that way. So I'm like, okay, I guess I better get used to this. So I did it that way. And then, like, I don't remember why, but I played, like, an old PlayStation game or something that had some driving in it where I had to use the directional, you know, the old school way. I was like, this feels terrible. Like, I don't know why I was so resistant to changing. It's just something your mind does sometimes, I guess.
Once we're set in our ways, it's hard to break those patterns, and it's nuts.
Oh, is your mic stand like stuck in the down position?
Yeah, I don't know how to fix it.
I think you might have to like loosen this and then tighten it back down once you raise it up. Ooh, my stupid alarm. Okay. You might just have to hold it the rest of the time.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, cool. I don't know if you got any stories. I got a couple of them.
Let's see. I don't know if I have any.
Well, I'll do one to start us off. I actually found a pretty good one this week. Let's see, where is it here? Okay. This story is right down our channel's alley, man. Passengers recall what happened as fellow traveler had horrific diarrhea on airplane. Passengers recall what happened as fellow traveler had horrific diarrhea on a plane. Okay. A Delta Airlines flight was forced to turn around after one very unlucky passenger. Well, I'd say there's passengers unlucky in this case. Suffered through a horrible bout of the runs. The plane, an Airbus A350 aircraft, was traveling from Atlanta to Barcelona on Friday night, September 1st, when all hell quite literally broke loose along with the poor bloke's bowels. Passengers recall what happened as fellow traveler had horrific diarrhea on the plane. And by the way, like, you know how British people, this is obviously a British, like, written story.
Yeah.
You know how, like, a lot of their words have U's in them that ours don't? Like, they'll spell, like, the word color with an extra U and stuff. They put an extra O. Well, they put an O in diarrhea, which is something we don't spell it that way, and it's weird. But anyway, traveler had horrific diarrhea on plane. The chap, whose identity currently remains a mystery, I'm sure he wants to keep it that way, had attempted to make it to the bathroom stalls, but was caught short and ended up doing his business right down the middle of the crafts aisle.
Oh, no.
Now, here's my thing. Even if I was this guy and I was like, there's no possible way I can make it to the bathroom, I think I would have at least just shit my pants, and then when I got in the bathroom, like, tried to make the best of that situation. Like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he made the right choice, but I mean, that's a pretty ballsy move to just be like, okay, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to plop a squat right here in the aisle, right by all these people.
Where the food is, too.
Right. Quote, this is a biohazard issue, the pilot said to air traffic control, recorded from liveatc.com and shared on X, formerly Twitter. We've had a passenger who's had diarrhea all the way through the airplane, so they want us to come back to Atlanta. Both passengers and crew members were subsequently transferred, and flight DL194 eventually made it to Barcelona at 5:10 p.m. the next day. A whole 8 hours later than originally scheduled, according to data from Flight Radar 24. The airline has since issued a statement on the matter explaining Delta Flight 194 from Atlanta to Barcelona returned to Atlanta following an onboard medical issue. Our teams worked as quickly and safely as possible to thoroughly clean the airplane and get our customers to their final destination, a Delta spokesperson said. We sincerely apologize to our customers for the delay and inconvenience to their travel plans. The horrific incident unsurprisingly went viral, with footage making its rounds across social media following the cleanup operation on the flight. In the brief clip, paper towels can be seen covering the aisle, trying to clear away the various streaks of brown sludge. The unfortunate souls who were on board the flight have since revealed exactly what it was like at the time. Quote, both my wife and I were on the flight, wrote one Twitter user. It was a mess. The pilots made the right decision to turn around. The ground crew ripped out the carpet and put a new one in. Considering the circumstances, the ground crew did a great job, along with the attendants and the pilots. Another passenger who also drew the short straw said it was the worst smell imaginable. My partner was on the flight. It was pretty bad. It was dribbled down the aisle. It smelled horrible, they said. The vanilla-scented disinfectant used on it only made it smell like vanilla crap. Well, it's not like you can even crack a window open. I mean, that's a funny, like, I just picture, like, you know, there, and every time the plane, like, slopes down even the slightest, like, it starts to run, and the people up front are like, no. Nose up.
Oh,
I mean, that is just a terrible situation. I can't imagine how embarrassed this guy must have been.
You know, I bet this happens a lot more than we know. Like, there's thousands of flights every day, right? Like, there's thousands of planes in the air at all times. There's got to be somebody shitting their pants at some point.
I mean, I'm sure people have shit their pants, but I don't think very many have actually, like, just shit in the aisle away.
Yeah. God. Ugh. If there was one thing I could just change about humans, it'd be shitting, maybe. That might be the one thing.
It really is inconvenient.
Yeah.
The whole I mean, even, like, having to piss, like, all the time is inconvenient.
Yeah, for sure.
If we could, figure out... We need to evolve to where we don't have to pee and poop, really.
Then we'd be the perfect species.
We really would.
Except for all the murdering and other stuff. But, man... Not being able to shit, that's the dream. I actually have a story here. I have a few stories. I forgot I had these saved up.
Cool.
A Brit was hospitalized after holding in a sneeze and blowing a hole through his throat.
Whoa, what?
Yeah. I don't have much else to that story, but that was it. But, like, yeah, he held in his sneeze and blew a hole through his throat. I didn't know that was possible. That is nuts. That'll teach me to fucking hold sneezes, and I'll never do it again.
Now, was it a situation where he was trying to hold it, and then he did it anyway, and it, like...
Yeah.
Oh. That is very weird.
Yeah.
So he was almost, like, holding his breath a little bit or something, and then he sneezed anyway.
Yeah, and
so it caused more force.
Yeah.
But enough to actually, like, puncture a hole?
Yeah.
Man. So, like... I wonder how they like fixed him. Like,
I would have had the whole article, but like going through the whole article,
right.
it's annoying and all. But I mean,
I imagine it's like when
patched
people
him
get a
up.
collapsed lung, right? And
Mhm.
like, so like, their other like one lung's doing all the work, and then they eventually got to like get the other one like
Yeah.
repaired or whatever,
Mhm.
however that works. Man, that's crazy. Yeah, that's something I didn't even know was possible.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So never hold in your sneezes, people. Just
Yeah.
like wherever you are, just let them go.
Yeah, my mom always warns me about that too. She's like, "Don't hold it in. Don't hold it in.
Really?
It's a bad idea." Yeah. I got another one too. Termite colony, a little smaller than Britain. Some of the mounds are thousands of years old, and some of the mounds are up to 3,800 years old. So there's a termite colony in Brazil that's the size of almost Britain, and it's been untouched for thousands of years. And they've got these like structures and the mounds and stuff that are thousands of years that are just untouched by humanity.
I mean, okay, so termites are famous for like, eating wood and causing like damage to houses and stuff.
Yeah.
But like in a situation like that, do they feed on different stuff? I'm just picturing like a colony that big. I'm like, they got to be wreaking havoc on something, right?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they've had the society or whatever for like thousands of years, and they haven't like destroyed the entire environment yet. So I mean, I don't know.
It seems like you couldn't even build a house anywhere near this place.
No, I don't think so. And it's in a rainforest, so like, what are they doing to that forest?
That's true. I wonder if like it's a weird thing where they don't bother like the rainforest trees or something.
Or like it like maintains the ecosystem or something.
Yeah, something. That's very bizarre.
Yeah.
That's so many. I sometimes think about that, just like how like bugs like outnumber us by such a large percentage.
Yeah, I think about that too. Like if ants ever decided one day to eat humans,
Oh, God.
they could. They could eat us all.
I know. God, I swear we get those little sugar ants so bad here, and we kill them just by the groves.
Yeah.
Either poison them or just like every time I see them, I'm like stomping a bunch of them out with my hand and stuff. And I can't even tell you how many of those things we've killed. And like the best you'll do is like they might go away for like a week, and then they're just back again.
We have this like coyote infestation in America, especially like in the, but it's really everywhere from what I understand. The coyotes are everywhere. And like killing them doesn't make a difference. Like their numbers still multiply at a very high rate. Like people, like there's incentives to kill them. There's all kinds of things. And, people hunt them all the time, like especially in like places where there's lots of guns and, rural areas. But still these coyotes are coming back in waves. It's the same thing like the ants. It's nuts. I've seen coyotes out here in Oregon, in Portland.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like I knew they're around, but I've never seen one.
Yeah, I've seen one or two maybe.
In like as you go out of the city or just like around
In my neighborhood.
Oh, really? In your
Yeah.
neighborhood?
Yeah, at
Crazy.
the park. Mhm.
Oh, at that park right there?
Yeah, there's like some trees and stuff, and like it was like I was walking my dog. Well, Pepsi, you have her now. I was walking her, and I saw this dog-looking creature like kind of walking parallel to us, but like 50 feet away, maybe further. And I look, and I'm like, that's a big dog. And it looks different. And then like I was like, oh, okay, no, that's a coyote. After like looking at it thoroughly, I was like, that looks yeah, a little different.
Yeah, I've seen movies and stuff like that Michael Mann movie Collateral. I remember there's a scene and it's like shot in LA where like they see like a coyote in the street, and I'm like, so I think that is like something that happens even in populated areas. Like,
Yeah, I think we're gonna see them more and more. Now we're gonna see them everywhere, man. It's gonna be nuts.
I imagine like a lot of animals, like they end up going through people's garbage and
Oh yeah.
Stuff like that.
I mean, I don't think there's any bears in Oregon, or if there are, like I don't think they're very prevalent. But
Well, I think there's probably a lot of bears, but I don't think they. They might come into like suburban areas, but they probably like keep their distance somewhat from the city, I would imagine.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, those are the ones that I think about, like going to the trash and stuff. Those are the ones you see YouTube videos of all the time, like climbing fences and going into like pools and stuff. God, bears are adorable, but they are just huge killing machines. They destroy you And they eat you while you're alive. Like, they don't bother to snap your neck or cut your throat. They eat you while you're alive. It's horrible.
Man, I saw this video, and I don't even know where it was. I think it has to be like Russia or, definitely somewhere cold. But this guy was shooting from inside his house, and, like, he had a window, and, like, this polar bear was sticking his head through, and he didn't even seem... He was just kind of like, yeah, get out of here or whatever, foreign language. But it sounded like, like that. And I'm just thinking, that would scare me so bad because polar bears especially, like, bears, even though they're scary, like, generally speaking, most of them won't attack you unless they think you're threatening, like they're young or them,
Mm-hmm.
But, like, polar bears, they just see you as a meal.
Yeah.
Like... So they're much more likely to kill a human, you know. It probably doesn't happen as often because humans, tend to stay out of areas with a lot of polar bears. But, like, if you were, had to be in a, spot where you had to get close to a bear, the polar bear is the least, the least one you would want to have to be close to because, they're more dangerous. But yeah, I've also, like, on your mom's house, they show a lot of clips of, like, these rich people in, like, Middle East countries and stuff that'll have, like, tigers as pets in their house.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God, like, how do people not learn this lesson? I mean, it's like the whole, like, Siegfried and Roy thing. Like, they worked with those tigers for, like, ever, and then there's one bad day where the tiger just gets you. And I'm like, how are people not nervous about this stuff? These things have these gigantic paws on them and claws, and it's just like, you better keep that thing well fed.
For sure.
You better keep it so full it doesn't even think about touching you.
Exactly. That thing better be about to throw up at all times.
I know. I just can't imagine having the kind of constitution where you feel safe around a creature like that.
I think that's the kind of person who just doesn't feel fear in almost any circumstance, just about. I from what I heard, there are those people who tend not to feel fear under any circumstance, except under asphyxiation. So a study was recently done. I don't think I have the paper for it in here, but they basically figured out that these people who don't have fear for other things, if you asphyxiate them, or, like, if they fear that they're about to be asphyxiated, like, they're gonna fear that's gonna stem that, like, reaction from them, and they're gonna be like, I want to live. So I mean, they don't feel it for other things, but that's one thing that they do feel it for.
That's unique, because you would think, like, at the base level that's because they're afraid of dying.
Yeah.
So you would think anything else that would threaten their life
would do the same thing.
Yeah. Maybe that just feels more immediate. I don't know. Or
maybe it's like a biological thing. Like, it's just, we're hardwired. If we can't breathe after a while, we just start freaking out.
I mean, it would make sense.
Yeah.
Man, the other thing that's weird is there's, like, a very small, like, number of people in the world that have that thing where they, like, literally can't feel pain.
Yeah.
Physical pain.
That's wild.
I mean,
I wouldn't want that. It sounds like a superpower in a way, but I wouldn't want that, because, like, it stops you from surviving in a way. Like, if you're doing, if
right,
you're touching something hot or something.
Right. You could get seriously hurt and not even know it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like, I'm wondering, like, can those people feel, like, pleasure? Do they feel anything? I don't know.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if they do feel pleasure. Like, then what's the point of having sex, Or, like,
right.
Could you even have sex? Would you even know you're about to finish?
Yeah, I wonder if those people are just numb to everything or specifically just numb to pain.
Yeah.
I wonder if they still have, like, some sort of touch sensation.
I mean, that would be amazing if they could feel pleasure but not pain. That would
be the best, right?
Yeah.
Even though, like you said, it does make it so you could have like a survival mishap.
Yeah.
I think I would still go for it.
Really? I'd be nervous because I'd be afraid that like I was standing next to like a sharp object that was like stabbing me. I didn't even know it, and like it impales me or something or whatever.
One of those like Swedish like girl with the dragon tattoo movies.
Uh-huh.
Like she gets in a fight with this guy that has that, and she ends up like taking like a nail gun and like nailing his feet to the floor. And he like doesn't like feel it, but it lets her like get away or whatever.
She could have done more with that nail gun, I think. Was she like a altruistic kind of person who didn't want to kill or something?
I don't think. It's been a while since I saw those movies. I think she maybe is like somewhat like autistic.
Oh, okay.
But like, I don't know if she's like. Maybe she did end up killing him. I don't even remember. It's been so long. But
Yeah, those movies always weird me out. Like if somebody's trying to kill you, like your safest bet is to kill them. You know, like they're gonna still try to kill you if they can get a chance to. You know, like just kill them. Don't nail their feet to the ground and run away.
you always wonder though what you would do in the moment, like. Because you would feel like a lot of adrenaline and it's, the whole fight or flight thing. But like in a way, like any normal human being is kind of hardwired to, not kill, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
So like in that moment, like if I thought I could get away from the person trying to kill me like safely, I'm thinking I probably would still do that.
Well, whatever gives you the best survival chances, I guess. Like, if you could just get away from that person and get to, like, a public place really quickly, something like that, maybe.
I think it would be almost easier to kill someone like that if they were, like, endangering, like, a loved one.
Yeah.
Then you'd be like, oh, I have to kill this guy,
I feel like you have no choice.
But if it was just my life on the line and I was like, well, I got him kind of stuck here. I think I can get away safely. Maybe I would. I don't know.
I heard this TikTok theory, and I'm going to lose all credibility right for saying that. But this person was talking about how, like, I don't know who it was. Maybe it was like a scientist or somebody. I'm not sure. But they were saying that, or a writer, that they were saying that, like, it seems like there's a lot of, like the people who are, like, willing to kill, the people who are, like, willing to, like, do these things, they're almost, like, put in place to like be these parts of humanity. Like they have to like thin the herd and kill and this and that. Like it's almost designed this way to like it seems like it is. Like they thin the herd, they kill off certain people. Even like soldiers, they do services for people. Like those people are the main characters, like who they're serving. Like they're the ones who are like deciding what happens in the world and this and that. And like these are just role players that have to be there to help make sure that things play out the way they do, like almost like NPCs.
So it's almost like the idea when the forest grows too crowded, like there's going to be a natural fire to burn it and thin it out, and that like we get too many people, so like by design there's a couple psychos that are going to kill a bunch of people and send us. I mean, it is a wild theory, but. It is. I guess it is kind of interesting, though.
I mean, they say there's like what, several hundreds of serial killers running around the U.S. at any given time. Like 300 serial killers.
That actually surprises me, just because in this day and age, I would think it'd be pretty hard. Like, well, a lot harder than it used to be to get away with murder. But then again, if there's just guys that like out there like. Going from state to state killing homeless people. I'm sure that happens, and there's people that just
prostitutes
get away with it for a long time. But man, it's pretty wild.
But I mean, like they're almost characterized by this person as like NPCs. They're not like, the rest of us have like a purpose to like flourish society and this and that. But these people, their goal is something else. Like, is to limit the number of people or like some sort of create like constructs around society. Like they're the ones who like limit the numbers or make sure that whatever's supposed to happen happens. But they're not like regular people. There's something. They're sociopathic, they're psychopathic, but like they're designed that way for a reason.
I mean, it's an interesting thought. I think that the population is going to control itself much more through the fact that of like economic problems, because like it's got to be hard these days, especially to make the decision to have a child because it's getting so difficult to even like afford to live. Like rent goes up, houses are insane. Like people, like I wonder about that. Like if we're actually going to see like a big population decline. I think maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think like the rate at which Americans are having children is going down somewhat now.
Yeah, immigration is what's keeping our population up. Otherwise, the birth rate is decreasing.
I want to say I heard that in Japan, a similar situation where like the birth rate.
In China too, like they had that one-child policy for a long time, but they changed it. But people still aren't having kids at that rate, and they're expecting the population to get to like 400 or 500 million in the next like century or so.
Yeah, I heard that China, is gonna have a rough like next 10 to 20 years in that respect.
Yeah.
And that might. I'm wondering if that does something to their economy because that's the thing we kind of worry about right now is China's economy compared to ours and stuff like that. But that could lead to them having some tough times economically too.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. They don't have the immigration in place that the U.S. has. Like, I don't know if they don't really seem to take in a lot of immigrants, and I don't think they could keep the population up even then if they did. Like, they would need to take in like 500 million people.
And also, like, China's so restrictive that I can't imagine like a ton of people wanting to move there.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, I don't know. You hear about people moving to China. Maybe it's just
Hong Kong, maybe.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I wouldn't even want to do that, but especially not like anywhere in mainland China.
I don't know. Hong Kong seems appealing to me. All those little food stands on the road. You just go to.
It might be a cool place to visit, but I don't think I would want to live there.
Yeah.
It's still a little too totalitarian.
It's too expensive. Also, like I think, was it 10 to 20% of the population is millionaires?
Oh, really? I thought people like bragged about how you could go there and buy like a bunch of nice suits for cheap.
Maybe you could, but I know like property and stuff is expensive. Like you have to be like a millionaire to be able to survive in Hong Kong.
I think it's getting that way over here.
Yeah, eventually it'll get to that point. I think, aren't like 10% of Americans millionaires?
That much?
I think it's like a pretty high number.
All I know is there's some pretty, mid-level house in Portland. You're probably, still looking at $400,000 to $500,000.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think at least $500,000.
Which, man, I can't imagine ever having enough money for something that much.
Yeah, it's nuts. They're pricing the young people out of the market. Like, I don't know how they're gonna. What's gonna happen? Like, all these old people are gonna have a bunch of investment properties till they die, and then what?
That'll be like the big thing that's passed down from like generation to generation. Is like, oh, you're lucky enough to have someone who could like give you land or a house or something. If prices stayed like lower, like in my small hometown in Montana, like I could probably eventually buy a house there.
Mm-hmm.
But I imagine like they're going up to the point where like it'd probably be tough for me to ever buy a house there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean like it's gonna eventually go up everywhere, Like Texas was pretty cheap for a long time. But now prices are going up there even like pretty drastically. And a lot of people are moving to Texas, which is surprising because I couldn't wait to get out of there. But I think I've seen a lot of complaints by people who moved there recently. They're realizing that it's not as cheap to live there. Like the houses might look like they cost less, but the sales tax, the property tax, there's so many different things that end up making the cost of living, if not more, compared to California at the end of the day.
Well, I know, Joe Rogan moved to Austin, Texas because I think mostly because for less taxes,
Mm-hmm.
but also just I guess Austin was kind of like a he thought a good city for comedy, and so like a ton of comedians moved to Austin, and like I think a lot of like Californians and other people did the same. And I don't know, maybe that'll pan out for him.
That's what I'm hearing. Like these Californians who moved to Austin, they're like, it's too hot. It's the electricity doesn't work here. Like whether it's cold or hot, they seem miserable. Like I've heard of Californians who are already moving back to like San Diego. Well, first of all, San Diego to Austin, that's a huge step down. You know, like you got to know where you're going. And I just feel like the marketing of Texas was like really good. I don't know how they convinced these people to move there. Like I lived there 30 years, man. I know there's nothing in Texas. Like it's just flat, ugly, hot.
Have you ever been to Austin?
Yeah.
Was there anything like worthwhile?
It's better than the rest of Texas. That's why it's got so much hype. Like it looks a little bit better. It's like the shittiest place in hell, you know? Like it's still shitty, but like compared to the rest of the hell, of course, people are going to be like, oh, that spot's better, I guess. Like, I don't know. Austin's got, like, some hills. It's not as flat as the rest of Texas. Otherwise, it's I don't know. It kind of sucks. Like, there's nothing there.
Is it one of the more liberal places in Texas?
Yeah, it's supposed to be, but I mean...
I imagine there's...
What does that mean?
Yeah, that's true. You know, I remember even back, like, I think the 2016 election or something, I heard some news people being like, oh, you know, Texas is more of a purple state than you think. Maybe. And I was like, I mean, I don't know much about it, but I don't know. Seems pretty red still.
Yeah,
Seems pretty red. Well, AJ... should we get to reviewing Ahsoka episode 4?
Let's do it.
Okay. Now, everybody, we do know we're a little late with this review, but what you get with us that you don't with a lot of people is an in-depth review of the episode. And actually, we're working on something so that we can hopefully get these reviews out a little faster than we have been. But yeah, I still want to talk about this episode. So episode 4, entitled Fallen Jedi. Yeah, and I think we talked a little bit before we started rolling, like, or maybe it was earlier in the episode that, like, for me, this show's still hitting. I'm still like enjoying it and curious where it's going. And
yeah, I'm glad they had like, well, we'll get into it, but yeah, I'm enjoying it actually. I'm thoroughly surprised by how much I'm enjoying it. I came into it just, you know, did I say it earlier? I came into it like,
I think so, like,
yeah,
because I think, like I've said before on the show, I'm not even though I've watched a lot of Star Wars stuff, I'm by no means like an expert, and I know you're even more of a novice. So I was wondering how this show would come off to you. Mm-hmm. So we open with Sabine tries to contact Home One, but communications are still jammed. Ahsoka suggests to Sabine that they find the enemy base. Ahsoka says if they can't make the jump to find Ezra, that no one should. And Sabine says it won't come to that. But Ahsoka says it might have already. Ahsoka says it's better that Ezra is stranded than Thrawn returns. And then Ahsoka asks Sabine if she can count on her, and Sabine replies, "You know you can." So she really harps on this for a while, like, to the point where I'm like, well, now I know they're going to set up this exact scenario happening in the episode, you know, to where, like, she doesn't trust Sabine can make the hard decision if it comes down to it, you know. And you can kind of tell that even though Sabine says, like, she can.
Yeah.
But my only thing is like, oh, well, they set this up so much that I know something like this is going to happen. So as Hu Yang works on the ship, it's revealed that another droid is watching him from the distance. So now we get a scene where Shin tells Baylan that the Jedi ship has been found, presumably by that droid we just saw. So he orders her and her men to go after them. Morgan asks Baylan if she detects a note of fear in his voice. But he says, no, it's experience. Now we see that men with guns are now watching Ahsoka's ship. As Sabine gets ready with her gear and weapons, Ahsoka asks Sabine if she needs to worry about her, expressing doubt that she can make the hard decision about Ezra if necessary. So again, if I had one criticism of this episode is I think maybe they harped on that a little bit too much. Yeah, telegraphed it maybe a little bit too much. As Hu Yang finishes repairs on the outside of the ship, he is attacked by another droid. What did you think of this like droid on droid like fight?
I mean, it has no consequence to me. These droids can be repaired at some point in the future, so their life means nothing.
Yeah, I was never like that's true. I'm never like too afraid of like something happening to a droid because you're right. But I was trying to think. I don't know if I'd ever seen that necessarily before in a Star Wars thing, like a droid on droid fight. Like I thought it looked okay.
Yeah,
I was like. It at least seemed like maybe something a little new anyway. As Hu Yang calls for help, the men with guns show up, and Hu Yang ends up like I think on purpose like hitting the control panel he just worked on, so that the lights on the ship would like go off and like alert Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And so that's what happens. Ahsoka gets alerted, and she like powers up her lightsabers. So Sabine and Ahsoka go outside, and I wrote they pretty much easily defeat these men.
Yeah.
And that's one thing is like a lot of times when it's like a Jedi versus regular people, you're like, well, I know this is going to be a simple fight. They're just going to wreck shop, and that's exactly what they do. Okay, so I thought this was a little bit weird. So like Ahsoka and Sabine are about to leave to like go find the enemy base, and Hu Yang's like, now you guys stick together. And to me, I'm like thinking, well, they're leaving together. You would think they would try to stick together.
Yeah.
I'm like, he made this like point of saying it, and I'm like, I mean, that's not really
like it would take more effort for them to divide up and like end up in different places,
Right.
like because they both have the same mission. I don't understand why would they would separate.
And actually, they do end up dividing, but for good reason.
Oh right, yeah, because they had to.
Right, but it's like
Yeah, I mean, in that case, that would have been bad advice to stick together.
exactly like they did the right thing, but in that moment, so I don't know. I thought it was a little bit weird. Now we get a scene with Hera, and we kind of called this when we were talking about the episode 3. Hera tells one of her men that she is disobeying orders and investigating anyway. And in my estimation, I question if she's a very good mom because she brings her son Jason along with her.
This was wild.
And I'm like, okay, you're going somewhere where there's probably danger afoot.
Yeah.
And you're bringing your small child with you? This seems like a bad idea, Hera.
Yeah.
Maybe reconsider that?
I had no idea. Like, as soon as they introduced that she was bringing her small child into this, I was like, what? Why? Well, like, there's no babysitters in this place? Like, she doesn't know anybody?
Yeah, that seemed just bizarre, like a bizarre choice to me.
Yeah.
And I have to assume, like, I don't know, like, I'm sure.
Why does she have to bring him? I just don't understand.
I'm sure it's for a scene later where we can show him like meeting, another character. But I'm like, come on, like that was so stupid on her part.
It's eating away at me though. Like in my mind, I'm like, what caused this to happen? What scenario do you bring your kid on a mission? Like,
I know it's like I'm being sent to war. Come on, John, you can tag along.
It'd be safer for me to watch you there.
Terrible idea. She's a great pilot, but a terrible mom.
She's a great general.
So a pilot named Carson, who also makes appearances in the Mandalorian series, and his men join Hera, and they're like loyal to her, So yeah, I really did like, and we even talked about this a bit when we were talking about episode 3. I thought a scene like this would happen where she's like, decided to go out on her own and got some loyalists to go with her.
I mean, as I don't know much about the whole Star Wars universe, does it seem kind of small when characters show up in different shows like this? Like, considering it's a whole galaxy, right?
Well, I mean, these new crop of shows like The Mandalorian and this one, I think they purposely like set them during the same exact time period so that they could have some of these fun crossovers. And like the rumor is that eventually they are going to do a movie that kind of has a bunch of these characters, like have a big crossover story in a movie. So, which is interesting. I'm wondering if, well, it's interesting to me that they would do that just because like a movie like that, it seems like you might only get Star Wars loyalists that have watched all the TV shows, you know?
Yeah.
It's not going to be like a user-friendly movie necessarily.
Right, yeah.
So I do wonder about that.
Maybe they're confident that they're getting a lot of new people watching these shows.
I mean, that could be. I mean...
I'm thinking about watching Mandalorian too.
You should, man. It's fun. And I think that Mandalorian, you know, is a pretty easy show to get into.
Okay.
But yeah, they end up joining Hera and going on their way to Cetos. Now we get to see them with the bad guys. Morgan tells Baylan that once the guideline is established, they'll be able to calculate the hyperspace coordinates. So I think what she means by that is they mentioned in the last episode that they have to kind of share that lane that the space whales use or whatever. Yeah. So I'm thinking like they have to like get that just perfect before they can like set up the coordinates or whatever. I'm not sure exactly. Because Baylan says if her calculations are off by even a little bit, they'll be lost to the depths of the void. So she tells him to have faith. But he says he lost faith a long time ago. I am kind of interested to like, see his story, see what happened to him at the end of the Clone Wars, and like why he went off on his own and eventually seemingly became kind of a bad guy, you know. Morgan opens the map again, which Baylan refers to as witchcraft. Okay, so now a droid on the hyperspace loop that the bad guys call the Eye of Sion begins calculating those hyperspace coordinates. So this is going to be like the ticking clock of the episode. Like, we don't want to get those coordinates all the way done. So now we get a scene where Sabine and Ahsoka are running through the woods on their way to find the enemy base. But alas, they run into Shin and Merrick. So Sabine pairs off with Shin. Pistols versus lightsaber at first, and Ahsoka pairs off with Merrick, saber versus saber. Shin force pushes Sabine into a tree, and I think that causes her to drop her pistol, so then she busts out her lightsaber. Merrick spins his... This was weird. So Merrick has a lightsaber that he can like spin around like super duper fast, which... To me, I was like, man, that's a bit tough on the eyes if he was doing this.
Yeah, sure.
But then, like, they do that thing. You know how, like, in a lot of, like, samurai thing, like, they'll do the thing where, you know, both samurais, like, swing at each other, and then it takes a second before you realize which one, like, won and which one got hurt. Mm-hmm. They kind of do that thing here. But to me, I'm like, he's spinning his, like, blade so fast that, like, are we to believe she, like, was able to, like, swing in between? Like, I don't even know how she did it, really.
I don't know.
It doesn't really show, but it happens. But anyway, he spins his lightsaber, but Ahsoka ends up cutting him across the chest. So this, I saw some people making a big deal about this on the internet. To me, like, I didn't need Merrick to be, like, this special person necessarily, but this seemed a little maybe anticlimactic. So I wrote, a cloud of seemingly alive green smoke exits Merrick's body with a scream. And so I guess we're supposed to, I mean, the way I interpret that is that like Morgan must have been using her witchcraft on his body or something like that.
Maybe, I don't know.
What did you think of that when that smoke came out? I mean,
I don't know enough about the Star Wars universe to know like what kind of creatures and beings exist. So right now I'm still trying to just like, maybe that's just one of the beings, you know, like a smoke person.
I mean, I'm not super fond of like the magic stuff in the Star Wars universe, but they've set her up as like one of those witch characters. So that's kind of what I thought, is maybe she was like, using her witchcraft to take over this guy's body or something.
There's only I couldn't remember who Balin was talking to before, but there was somebody who was talking about Merrick's mission, and Balin was like, "He'll get it done. You can count on him." And if he was talking to Morgan, then it wouldn't make sense to me if she was the one who like was controlling him to doubt him, maybe. But if he was talking to the girl that he's his apprentice, then maybe you're right. Maybe it is Morgan. I just don't remember who he's talking to, but yeah, that could make sense.
What I thought would be cool, because I don't know if they actually confirm that Merrick died. Like, we see that, because, like, let's say he was a person, like, bewitched by the green smoke. Mm-hmm. I think it could be cool if, like, she took over, like, a Jedi, and then, like, now it's possible that Merrick could still be alive, but maybe be, like, a good guy or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know if, like, in that scene we were meant to, like, think that he was completely dead or not,
Right, yeah.
So now Sabine yells at Ahsoka to go after the map while she fights Shin. So this is what we referenced earlier, is like, they split up here, but like this was the right move.
Yeah.
Rather than stick together like Hu Yang said. Of course, maybe if they would have just... Maybe it would have been the right move, because maybe if Ahsoka and Sabine just ganged up on Shin, they would have easily beat her and then be like, oh, now we can go double up on
Yeah,
Bail.
I was thinking that too.
So maybe it would have been a better idea to stick together. Who knows?
Jump that girl. Get her.
Right.
Beat her. 2-on-1.
So now we see that Morgan's droid has gotten like halfway done with figuring out the coordinates. Morgan tells Balin that she's going to prepare for her departure and that he needs to protect the map until she sends for him. So now Ahsoka shows up to that, circle thing with the map. And Balin and Ahsoka have a conversation. So Balin says that Anakin spoke highly of her. Ahsoka says that Anakin never mentioned Balin. Balin says few members of the Jedi Order lived to see what Anakin became. He asks if that's why Ahsoka walked away and abandoned him. And then Ahsoka says she's not here to discuss her past. And Balin says the only reason he's there is to secure the future. That made me wonder if perhaps his conversation there, if perhaps like back in the day, if Balin and Anakin were close in some way. Like he had some sort of respect for Anakin or something.
Yeah. It sounds like it.
Yeah. So Ahsoka says she's not... Ahsoka asks if starting another war is necessary. Balin says he won't start another war, but Thrawn will. But really, I mean if he knows that, he's an accomplice. If I had like another criticism of this episode, I would say that none of their dialogue between each other was all that interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like I was hoping to have, something juicier in there.
Mm-hmm.
Balin says it's unfortunate, but one must destroy in order to create. But then like his character is hard to get a beat on because like he sometimes says things that make you think, oh, this guy maybe has, at least some dignity and class. But then there's other times where he says things that are very like kind of greedy. Like in the episode before, he was like, this will get us, power we could have never dreamt of, But then other times he's like, seems like he has all this respect for the Jedi and stuff.
Yeah.
And so you don't really know, where he lies exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So now it cuts back to the fight with Shin and Sabine. Shin knocks down Sabine, and Sabine tries to use the Force on her, and it doesn't really work. And then Shin tells her that she has no power, and so then she uses her wrist weapon, like she can shoot projectiles out of her wrist, and she uses that to knock Shin's saber out of her hand. Balin tells Ahsoka that her legacy is one of death and destruction, like Anakin's. And so they start to fight. Ahsoka knocks him down and grabs the map. But it's like, for some reason, the map being held in that center thing, it gets like really hot. And so she ends up having to drop it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why. I guess magic heats things up really hot. Shin throws a smoke bomb and escapes from Sabine. Morgan's droid tells her that he cannot complete his calculation since Ahsoka removed the map. So now Baylan and Ahsoka begin fighting again. Shin shows up and Baylan tells her to get the map. Ahsoka stops Shin by using the Force, like slams her against like one of those pillars or whatever. Baylan backs Ahsoka up to the cliff overlooking the ocean when Sabine shows up and gets the map. Ahsoka tells Sabine to destroy the map, and she puts her gun to it and tells Baylan to step away from Ahsoka. But Baylan ends up just knocking Ahsoka off the cliff. So Sabine shoots at him, but he's able to easily deflect her shots. So now Baylan tells Sabine that he knows that she thinks Ezra is the only family she has left, and that he is in search of a greater good, and asks her to make the journey with him willingly. He promised that if she agrees, no harm will come to her. Which, she starts to like buy into this, but I'm like, that makes me question the intelligence of her character. Like, I mean, I guess she is desperate to see Ezra and like find out, but like, I don't know. Should she really be trusting this guy?
I mean, I don't. There are a couple things she could have been thinking there. Like, one, destroy the map. Don't let them get it. Stop this where it is. Two, she really wants to see Ezra that badly that she's willing to, risk everything to take a chance on that. But there's a third thing also, actually, and I think that she was biding time.
Hoping that Ahsoka would come back.
Yeah. So I mean, that could have just been like her being like, okay, I'll go along with this until I can change the dynamic of what's going on right now.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. But yeah, he promises that if she agrees, no harm will come to her. So Sabine gives Baylan the map and then is immediately force choked by Shin, who shows up behind her. Baylan tells Shin to release her, and she begrudgingly lets her go. Baylan puts the map back, and Morgan's droid completes his calculations. So Morgan sends a shuttle to retrieve Baylan. Now we get a scene with Hu Yang. Hu Yang is able to fix unjam the communications or whatever, and contact Hera. And, he's basically like, you got to get here right now. And she's like, you're in luck. We just showed up conveniently right now. So yeah, her and the other guys like jump into, right by Cetos. Hu Yang tells Hera about the hyperspace loop and that she must stop it. Morgan tells Baylan the calculations are complete, so he destroys the map. Baylan, Shin, and Sabine entered the Eye of Sion with Sabine in handcuffs. Morgan's droid tells her about Hera's fleet, but she says to ignore them and engage the hyperdrive. So the Eye ends up powering up all the way, and it jumps into hyperspace. And this actually causes like 3 of Hera's fleet to die. Like, the wake of this thing like taking off, like, causes like 2 of them to like knock into each other, and like it causes another one to blow up too. Which makes me wonder, because in Star Wars, they're always like jumping to hyperspace or whatever, and I'm like, has this ever happened before? But I guess like this is like basically a ring of hyperloops all connected together. So it's like, okay, maybe it's different because it's so many of them.
Yeah.
Of course, with people, because it seems like, a lot of times in Star Wars, like they'll be hyperspacing away from like an enemy or something. And I was like, well, does it never affect the enemy ship when they just have, one ship jump into hyperspace? It doesn't seem to, But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They got like a bunch of them stuck together. So now Hu Yang finishes repairs on the ship, but can't reach either Sabine or Ahsoka. Okay, so now Ahsoka wakes up. I wrote on the interspace travel system seen in Rebels, and here's Anakin's voice. At least I assume that that's what this is. So I don't know if you remember, I told you there's an episode of Rebels where Ezra is able to go to a Jedi temple, and he like enters this thing like she's on, where like it basically allows you to walk to like various portals that go to various like places. And so I'm pretty sure that's what this is, and it's something that will allow probably Ahsoka to end up going wherever they just jumped to with the hyperspace loop. But I am curious because, like I said, like Ezra, he had to find a Jedi temple to access that thing, and she's apparently just able to access it. Also, like, I forget, did it show her like wake up on the beach or anything, or did it just automatically go?
No,
into her?
she was just in that black space.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm like, is this caused by a near-death experience? Like, what caused her to actually be able to go to this place?
That's what it sounded like, because when Anakin walked up to her, he's like, I'm surprised to see you so soon. And it sounded like, to me, that made me think like, oh, maybe she died.
I also kind of wonder about like people who are good at using the Force. Like if they fall off a cliff like that, can they not like use the Force to like break their fall a little bit?
That's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they can use it to like totally like fly and like really slow their descent, but it seems like they could do something.
Right.
Maybe she did that. I don't know. I wrote, she then sees a vision of Uncanny Valley Anakin, and we hear a snippet of Darth Vader's theme. So I'm wondering, like, do you think this like vision of Anakin is going to try to maybe like lead her somewhere dangerous?
I have no idea. Like, I don't know much about Anakin Skywalker, to be honest.
I mean,
I know he becomes Darth Vader.
Right. So his whole story is, he became Darth Vader, but like in Return of the Jedi, which is the last movie of the original trilogy, like he kind of like right before his death takes like a redeeming good guy turn where he turns on the Emperor.
Okay.
And then like, so presumably, and then this is like a lot of people don't like this, but in the original versions of Star Wars, it wasn't like this. But when George Lucas did like the special editions, he made Anakin's Force ghost appear like at the end of Return of the Jedi, like put it in there. And so I'm thinking that means that like, if they want to, like Anakin's Force ghost can talk to Ahsoka.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's what this is. I'm just not sure.
Gotcha.
I mean, if that's the case, it would seem like this entity is basically good.
Okay.
But I guess that's a mystery going into episode 4.
Right.
So, or I guess no, episode 5. This is episode 4. So, with episode 5, do you think we'll actually get to see where they jump to in hyperspace? Because shows do this sometimes where they like set up something big, but then the next episode they'll be like, oh, we're going to purposely do an episode that has nothing to do with that just to get your anticipation up. So many shows do that, so I'm always leery of like when there's a big cliffhanger. I'm like, oh, is the next episode the BS episode?
Well, hold on. Now, how many episodes are there in one season of this?
I believe there's 8 episodes, so I think we're halfway through.
Oh, I think we are due for a BS episode. Little filler episode.
Yeah, because originally my thought, and I still think this might be the case, is that they would save, the Thrawn and Ezra reveal until either the last episode or the second to last episode.
Yeah.
I'd be all for it if they want to do it now, but
I mean, well, what they're gonna do, I imagine, is explore this whole Anakin thing. Like the deeper meanings of the Force and how it's all connected. Maybe like.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that'd be part of it. Is like, Ahsoka and Anakin walking through that weird thing. And
Yeah,
like,
discovering or talking about their past and revealing to us like what happened.
Also, in that Rebels episode, it was weird because like Ezra, like he when he was in there, like he looked through a portal and saw like Ahsoka and Darth Vader like fighting, and like it looked like she was about to die or something. So he actually like pulled her out of it right there. So like she presumably already knew about this place.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why she's able to access it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I will say though, I kind of wish that they didn't kind of have so much of a connection to Rebels, because I will say I'm glad that I watched that last season Rebels before I watched this, because otherwise I would have had no context for a lot of this stuff. But like, it seems like a lot to expect that people would have watched Rebels before they watched this show. That's a big time commitment.
Right, yeah.
And
and how many seasons are there of Rebels?
4.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, but I think, Dave Filoni is a guy that he produces like a lot of these Star Wars shows and stuff, and he produced all the animated stuff. I think the animated stuff was kind of his baby, so I'm sure he likes to have it, those characters and stuff in live action now and referenced. And I think he's rumored to be the one that's going to direct eventually that movie that crosses a bunch of these things over, I mean,
it's kind of cool that the animated stuff is like canon, like I feel like that's not always the case with like franchises like DC and stuff, they don't really have the animated stuff be part of the main storyline. So
I will say, and I wonder about this with the Marvel stuff too, if overall it's beneficial to have like how all the TV shows and movies are connected, because it just seems like I think a lot of people get intimidated by that, because it's one thing to be like, okay, there's like so many Marvel movies, like somebody thinking about getting into them, like what do I watch? But then to know on top of that once you get to this point, you're gonna want to watch all these TV shows too to really know the full context of everything that's going on.
Yeah,
it just kind of creates a giant that like for. Although at this point, I'm sure most people know if they're in or out on like Marvel and stuff, but like it does make for a really heavy continuity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm liking this show, and excited to watch the next episode. AJ, any final thoughts on this episode or things you're maybe looking forward to in the next one?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to learning about the Force, man. Like, I'm such a novice at this whole thing. Like, I want to see what this whole relationship between her and Darth Vader, Anakin, was. How they speak to each other. Like, I know she's his student and apprentice, but
I'll be honest. All the Star Wars stuff I watched, generally speaking, the Force, it moves things with your I mean,
it's like plot armor.
Yeah, kind of. Like it kind of does what they needed to do, I think, at some points. Oh, I got this connection because of the Force. Or I had this revelation because of the Force. Oh, a Force ghost told me what to do here.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe the Force is better left somewhat mysterious, but like, it's fine. But yeah, for the most part, I would say the Force is just used to like force push and force pull things, which is a cool power, but
yeah, but that's not like the ultimate power. Like if the guy with the laser gun is more powerful than you. Except they are able to like deflect all those lasers and stuff.
Yeah, because like Kylo Ren, he was powerful enough. They shot a laser at him, and he just like paused it. So like apparently, if you're good enough with the Force, like even lasers can't stop
you. You can time it too, like a laser. You can time it to where you stop it before it gets to you.
Got to be strong with the Force, man.
It's only 186,000 miles per second or whatever. I can stop that.
They have. Well, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So they only had that slow laser technology at that time. Right. So
the primitive technology with the lights.
And apparently, maybe it's not the stormtroopers' fault that they always miss when they're shooting at people. Maybe it's that old gun technology. Like, this thing doesn't aim worth a crap.
This man mass manufacturing these crappy guns.
Right.
We're blaming these poor stormtroopers. We're just trying.
All right. I think that'll do it for today's episode. We do thank you guys very, very much for following along. If you will, please subscribe to us on YouTube. You can also subscribe in audio form on your podcast catcher of choice. Leave us thumbs up, 5-star reviews, all that good stuff. If you want, you can follow me over on Twitter/X at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And that is going to do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.